Bloomburrow may have been the most popular set of 2024, but that doesn't mean the value was there for this product. And in today's video, we're going to look at the exposed value now that this set's been around for a while and what happened to a lot of these prices. Stick around, we have a lot to cover in today's video. There's really no arguing that Bloomburrow was a great set, a fun set to play that just brought the imagination back to Magic the Gathering. Probably the best set of the year. The only other contender could be Modern Horizons 3, but the value for this set is not what players thought it was going to be when they started buying the Play Booster boxes and the collector boxes. So really we're going to talk about what happened and what players need to pay attention to. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thank you again, guys, for hanging out with me today. It's a great day for a video, great time to discuss this, because Bloomburrow has been around for a while now. The dust has settled, the card's prices have been determined based on the playability of the card. So what happened with this set? We had an initial set that was exciting. The pre-release went amazing. The spoiler season was off the hook for a lot of players. We loved looking at the possibilities. Non-Magic players took a look at it. People who fell in love with things like Redwall, The Secret of Nim, Watership Down. These things came back when we saw Bloomburrow, and that brought it to a different level. But that doesn't mean, just because our excitement and hype was there, that the value worked out the way we thought it would. Did we overpay for a product like this? Even with its great playability factor, a lot of players felt burned buying certain cards. So let's take a look at some of these cards. There is a lot of fascination with a few of these, and I want to start out with the one that I was most excited for, and you guys probably remember it. I talked about the 3-Tree City, because not only the playability factor, the fact it was engineered for Commander, but also they did the 4 seasons, just like they did in Antiquities. So it caught my eye in the Brothers War way as well. When we look at this card, they had a winter, a fall, a summer, a spring. It's awesome. Now, this card at one point was $90 a card. And in case you forgot what this card does, 3-Tree City is a legendary land, and as 3-Tree City enters, choose a creature type. Now, it can just tap for a colorless mana, that's fine, but you could also pay 2 and tap 3-Tree City. Then you choose a color and add an amount of mana of that color equal to the number of creatures you control of the chosen type, which means this card fits into any deck, which is why it's built for Commander. Now, the thing was, though, this card was going for $90. A lot of you guys probably remember this, because I commented on a few videos how this thing sold out. People went bananas for the card on the initial pre-orders that just went off the hook. And I said, there's no way I'm buying this card now. You have to wait and see how things settle down. Well, guess what? We're waiting. And in case you just didn't see that, it's around $34 a card. That's a far cry from 90, isn't it? Now, a lot of money changed hands in this card. Anyone with experience knows you need to wait and see how these cards are going to turn out. There is a worst case scenario where the card goes up to around the $100 mark. And the reason I'm telling you $100 is it's very rare for any new printed modern card from a new standard set to ever go over $100. Unless it's some specialty novelty version. And we'll talk about that later in the video. But for the purposes of this, the worst case scenario is $100. The best case scenario is it loses 50 to 60% of the value. Pardon me, word salad there. And what do you think happened here? Well, it looks like it lost over 50%. About 65. Which means this card is now a good deal. You notice it's not a $5 card. It didn't sink down to the bottom. It's just right now, after release, after the dust has settled, after other fancy secret layers and things have distracted players, and after people played with the card, they saw it's not that great right now. Doesn't mean it can't be great later. It just means right now, where we're at in the game, nobody's using it in some winning, crazy style deck that has a lot of value to it. So the card went down in price. It became more available, and now it's at a more affordable price range for many players to afford. And there's still sales going on with that card. Not as many as there used to be, but there are people who are still buying it because they always loved it and wanted it. I mean, buying all 4 used to be almost $400 Canadian. Now buying all 4 is about $150 Canadian. That's a huge savings, isn't it? If you wanted to get all 4 right now. If you were looking on TCG Player, that's where I got the prices from. Now, take a look at this next one here. A lot of you guys are going to remember the Caretakers Talent. Now this card, it started out at like 20 bucks, then it went down to like $1, $2, and it sat there. It sat there for like half a month. Then players got hold of it. They saw how great it was, and the price went up from there. It went from a $1 card to $12. If you bought 100 copies for 100 bucks, you just made $1,200. A lot of people flip this card. A lot of people use it. A lot of people play with it. This is a sought after card right now. And the funny thing is, when you look at a card like Caretaker's Talent, you can see how it's disguised to kind of look like, it's a saga card that levels up and stuff. Almost like the old creature types, different powers come into play. And it's a great mechanic. It fits well into a lot of decks, including Commander, Standard. I'm sure maybe somebody's probably tried it in Modern. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure they've tried. I mean, this is one of those cards that you recognize later and say, how great is this card? But it's a card that people miss, which means it had no value. Nobody paid attention to it. And things got a little bit wild. And they're still seeing it now, doing well. So a card that can start out at $90 can sink down because it looks great on paper, but doesn't really pull its weight, at least not yet, when you try to play with it. And then a card people ignored because of other flashy things going on, they see it, and then when they actually see it in gameplay, it blows their minds. And they go, why did I miss this? And by the time they see it, FOMO has set in, the card's 12 bucks. This is what happens with sets like Bloomburrow, with so many different factions taking a piece of the pie, from Commander players to Standard. Wizards trying to fit things from Modern in there. They're trying to fit as much as they can into a set. But is the value there a few months after release? Well, apparently it's not. But we're not quite done, because things can get a little bit nutty. I want to share this one with you. Do you guys remember Dragonhawk? That's the Fates Tempest from Bloomburrow. Now, get a closer look at this card. The Dragonhawk was a 5 casting cost, 5/5 with flying. It is a legendary bird dragon. Whenever Dragonhawk enters or attacks, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater. You may play those cards until the end of your next end step. At the beginning of your next end step, Dragonhawk deals 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled, which means you can do some crazy things. A lot of damage goes around, and this is a very dangerous bird. But this card, this thing, if you guys forgot, started out at like $30, $40. Then it went down to $20. Then we get closer to pre-release, close to the time, and before you know it, it was a $10 card, a $5 card, and we're all the way down to $3.50. So what does that mean? Well, it didn't make a great debut. Players played with it and it didn't work. Players tried to make it work probably a few times. They couldn't make it work. Standard's really fast. And the cards that Wizards has engineered can make it so slick shot, sure shot decks can finish you out in turn 3 easily with the right combination of cards. And something like the Dragonhawk never even gets on the board. So where is it going to be played? Well, it might be played in Commander, it might have a home somewhere, but because it's not some crazy winning combination, it doesn't hold up. The value is not there in its playability, which means the price goes down because there's lots of supply and no demand. Now let's take a look at our next card. This is interesting too, guys, because this is the Eater of All. This one here started out at the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20. No, we're not talking football right now, but it kept sinking. Do you know what made this card recover past that $10 mark? It's when it got used with things like Seeds of Innocence, the reserve list card. Now, a closer look at the Eater of All, and the part you have to function and really pay attention to here, is the ward sacrifice of food? No. It is the other creatures are food artifacts in addition to other types, and have 2 sacrifices permanent to gain 3 life, which means other creatures. That's everybody except for the Eater of All. When you use that with Seeds of Innocence that blows up every artifact in play, you can see the crazy combination. But wait, Seeds of Innocence, of course, is a reserve list card, so it's not being played in Standard, is it? No. This is being utilized and meant for Commander. It had a great resurgence. Players have been buying it, using it ever since. The major spike in these cards, though, settled down, and now it's like a $15 to $16 card, which means it's being played enough to hold some value. The value is being determined by players. Okay, the players who play the card. Somebody can hype this thing up on pre-order. They can talk about how great these cards are, but until you see it being played, and see how more, like, I hate to say this. Okay, hold on. I want to be honest here. I love playing Magic the Gathering, but I've sat down at tables with people who blow my mind with the combinations they're able to look up, think up, and create inside of their deck construction, okay? As an older player, I kind of go with tried and true methods. I try some crazy stuff, doesn't usually work out. Some players really have their stuff together now. And when I play against them and I get blown away, no, I'm not one of those players who gets mad or angry. I want to learn. And I can see how these cards can be utilized better in certain formats, and so can you out there watching this video, which lets you know where the value of cards is found is determined by the players using the card. Wizards can engineer great cards, and they can be used in all kinds of formats. But some cards are hidden beneath layers of other stuff that you have to look and know and find. Some people are very good at finding these things, and they just can flip the script on stuff, man. They can make it crazy. But I want to share one more thing with you, because although the value of Bloomburrow really dropped off after release, I mean, it really dropped off. It's not like the set's worth nothing, because there are a few sales here I want to really focus on, and it's something you need to pay attention to for future sets. Here we have Luma Bellow of the Woods, borderless raised foil. The foil edition on average is $158.81. The market price is $140.99 US. Okay, this is a very expensive card, and yes, it's been losing value. It lost 14 bucks. So when you could buy a base copy of this card, you have to ask yourself, who's buying it? Who determined that value, and why is it staying so high? Because the playability factor is the main thing you should be following for cards. But the odd time when stuff like this comes along and you wonder, is this card actually worth that much money? You have to go to the sales. You have to look to see not the determining playability factor, but does somebody want this thing as a collectible? They believe it's just so cool that they can't pass it up. And this is where, for Bloomburrow, things get a little strange, because this card is selling. This card does have value to players in the secondary market, and they want to own it. And they're paying, as you can see, hundreds of dollars. Every few days, copies of this card sells. And that's where we leave things off in terms of the value. Playability should determine most of the value of cards inside a set, except for the exception of those crazy kind of foil cards that seem to attract a certain audience of player. Because those sales are real, they're happening. But it doesn't mean that that's the particular card they're going to play inside their deck, does it? That's the card they want to show off and keep inside some beautiful, pristine, double protected. I know how I would do it too, guys. We all would do that. If you're going to spend that kind of money on a card, you're talking half the price of a dual land. But there are people buying it. And those prices can raise the overall value found inside boxes. Not a play booster box, that'd be a collector box, but it's still happening. Now, before we end things off, let's recap a couple things here about the value of a set. Bloomburrow had very strong beginnings. There's no arguing that. I myself bought boxes of it, guys. I loved the set. The playability factor, the cute animals, it totally hook, line, and sinker. No problem. I can be proud of the fact I really have enjoyed playing the set. When I look at the cards in the secondary market, months afterwards, there are definitely some winners and losers. Okay? A lot of value has been lost from this set. It did not retain secondary market value. The cards are not being played enough for the supply and demand to cause these cards to go up. That doesn't mean it can't change later, but right now, book value, we've lost a lot of value for many of the cards inside the set that on pre-order and the first week of these releases, especially during pre-release weekend, we had massive sales all over the place. They didn't hold up. People got burned bad on many of these cards. That's a fact. You can't hide it. It's out there. You can find it yourself. Just look up the cards. Look up the prices. Insane. Well, you just take my word for it because I did the research for you. Now, at the end, when you look at those raised foils or any specialty surge foil kind of crazy stuff they can put inside these sets, they do seem to hold some secondary market value for a certain audience. But remember, that audience is small, and they're not always easy to find. So that's for you as a player, if you get one of those crazy cards, to hold it, to sell it, do whatever you want. But for most people, they don't care about it, so they're going to sell it and try to flip it into the regular version plus some trade-in value, which makes sense if it's a card you do want to play. Bloomburrow was a great set. Wizards of the Coast is going to learn a lot from this of what has worked and what has not. But you as a player out there, players need to realize singles 100% are ruling the day. And singles somewhere after about the 80-day mark seem to be the best sweet spot right now. But there are times where cards get so short because they're not being opened later on. The money's moving along so fast that we still have players who are buying on the early market, even when cards are high, because they're afraid they won't be able to get copies. That's just the way things are going to be right now, which means this type of market exchange of goods at a heightened price because of FOMO, it's going to continue. It's going to be here for a while. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you all say in the comment sections, because Bloomburrow is the textbook child this year of a fantastic set that did well, but the secondary market didn't pan out really great. This has nothing to do with the fun factor of the set, the playability. I'm talking the blue book, black book value of what these things are worth on the secondary market. A lot of value was lost. Thanks again for hanging out. Drop some comments in the comments section. And of course, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bell. I do put out new content every single day. And we'll see you this weekend for the top 10. The hottest selling cards in Magic is on Saturday, and then the Sunday top 10 is the reserve list top 10, the hottest selling cards on the reserve list. And let me tell you, some of these numbers, they are going to be a little bit different, but you'll have to tune in to find out. And of course, the Sunday night live stream, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys can make it out to my live stream. Have a great one, everyone. Hi guys, welcome back to the end. These are the credits. These are where you get to see the amazing people who support my channel every day. And that's why we get to talk about these are the patrons. These are the YouTube membership members. And it's awesome to be here every day making videos, sharing Magic the Gathering with everyone in this great community, and just having a good time. So thanks again, guys. We will see you tomorrow with another video. Here we are. Welcome back to the end. I hope you're having an awesome day. This is the Ramble Jamble, and you've been invited. You've been invited to hang out here. I want you all to come, stick around, check it out. Grab a seat, just go. Your kids in the background, kids sit down, shh, quiet down, mommy and daddy time, okay? In the nicest way possible. I'm not trying to insult anybody's kids. Your kids are awesome, remember that. But kids, you got to help your parents out more. Remember that. That's right. Something in the background is a little bit different. At the time of filming, we were only 5 subscribers away from 25,000. Blows my mind. I feel very lucky. And I want to thank you all. Because without you, it wouldn't happen. So, you know what? Always show that appreciation the right way. So, we'll see you guys in the live stream this weekend. We'll chill out. We'll have a good time. I got nothing else to say. It's really late and I'm tired. But that's okay. Sometimes that happens too. I'll see you guys soon. Ramble Jamble!